how's it going? So, we are diving deep into, again, breaking through diet overwhelm. But today, I actually wanted to focus specifically on the diet aspect because I think that for a lot of women, with all the information out there, and we talked about this before in the last live that I did about diet overwhelm, a lot of the information out there with diets is conflicting. And so today, what I wanted to do was to dive into what you can completely, stop paying attention to and what you actually need to, put your focus on so that you can finally get the results that you want to see. Because there are a couple of things that I see, especially with busy moms, that can definitely sort of derail them a little bit. So I just wanted to focus specifically on the diet aspect of diet overwhelm today and give you some tools to help you break through that overwhelm again so that you can just calm down about your diet and finally start having sustainable long-term results. So the very first thing that I want to say is that I see all the time in terms of the overwhelm is this idea of focusing on good versus bad foods. Meaning, the fact that we demonize carbs in society, especially a lot lately. And when you think about sweet treats like chocolate or burgers or pizza, like we all associate these things as being bad foods. And I think that that in itself starts to create overwhelm because essentially what happens is, I mean, if you think about that, the bad boy that you weren't supposed to date in high school, the moment that you told yourself that, you were supposed to stay away from him, that's when you wanted him even more. Let's be honest. We've all been there. And I think that the exact same sort of mental thing happens with food. It happens with anything in your life that you're actually, depriving yourself of or telling yourself that you're not supposed to have. So I think first and foremost, we want to remove that kind of mindset about good and bad foods because I'm telling you right now, there are literally no good and bad foods out there. All foods should be available to you. They are all accessible. They are all healthy in their own way. You just have to understand how to eat them. Now, the next thing that I see happen a lot, especially when it comes to diet overwhelm, is a lot of women get really wrapped up in recipes or following meal plans. Now, guys, I've got to tell you, like as a busy mom, they're just not realistic and sustainable. And I think the thing that really trips a lot of women up is that if you run out of recipes or keep following the same meal plan over and over again, you're going to get, well, if you run out of recipes, that's just going to stress you out. And then you're going to, say, I have no recipes to follow. So then I'm just going to fall off the wagon. Same sort of thing happens if you're following a meal plan and, you can only follow the same 30-day meal plan so many times, guys, before you're like, I'm done. So I think the important thing is you don't want to handcuff yourself to meal plans and recipes because you want to be able to have a strategy of how to do this on your own. And I'm going to give you one in a little bit. But I think that that's the thing. By knowing exactly how to fuel your body, you get to just put all of that aside. You never have to rely on a meal plan or a recipe to follow ever, ever again because it's all up here, which also means that you have the ability to be successful no matter where you are, no matter what the world is throwing at you. The last thing that really, really causes overwhelm, especially with busy moms, and I'm telling you guys, I know because I'm in it with you right now, is picky eaters or also potentially husbands that aren't on board with healthy eating. Which, obviously when you're trying to appease the masses and you're also trying to make sure that your kids, are getting the proper nutrition and fueling themselves properly, this can, believe you me, I've gone like to toe with Madison over this a couple times, so I know how much overwhelm it can cause you, especially if you're trying to lose weight and stay on track. I mean, they're of course going to want to be able to eat pizza and chicken fingers and fries every single night, but that's not really going to work well for you. So I think it's really, really important to have a strategy, which I'm also going to give you, in order to be able to work with that as opposed to keep coming up against it every single night because that can just make meals in general really painful. So what can we focus on to help reduce the diet overwhelm? This is huge. So the very, very first thing is really, really simple. Eat 3 meals a day. Why is this so important to reducing overwhelm? Well, basically because if you're only eating 3 meals a day, that's all you have to think about. This whole old school bro science way of, when we used to talk about eating like 3 meals a day and 2 snacks, or 5 or 6 small meals a day and like whatever. Like that's just way too much time to think about food. Like it's I only have a certain amount of time a day to allot to eating, and I don't want to just multiply that by adding a million meals to my day. So all you really need to do is eat 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's it. Super simple, right? Now, what do those meals need to look like in order for you to lose this weight and stay on track? Really, really simple. Each one of those meals needs to basically have a protein, a fat, a carbohydrate, and fiber. And that is it. 4 things. If you can just capitalize on getting those 4 things into every single meal, you, my friend, are golden, because protein is king when it comes to weight loss. You should always be prioritizing protein because it helps to maintain your lean muscle mass. It helps your body to burn those calories, and it's going to keep you satiated for longer. Fats are amazing because they help to balance out those blood sugars, keep you satiated. They also help to give you that sense of feeling fuller faster and keeping you feeling fuller longer. Carbohydrates are amazing because they are basically the fuel for your metabolism. So it's like adding that, they are like the fire. If your metabolism is like, if your metabolism is like a fire, carbohydrates are the wood. So you want to be able to have those because that's going to help keep you going. And again, balance your blood sugar levels. Well, the proper carbohydrates. And then the last thing, fiber. Fiber is amazing because it's like this natural appetite suppressant. If you add veggies into your meal, it immediately helps to make you feel fuller instantly. So you're naturally going to eat less. So just having those 4 things at every single meal, 3 times a day, that's it. The amazing thing is that this gives you the strategy that you need so that you don't need to rely on meal plans or recipes anymore, because you can literally be out at a restaurant, over at your girlfriend's place for dinner, at your mother-in-law's, and 9 times out of 10, all these things are being served. And so you can just pick and choose and put them on your plate, and you're good to go. No recipes to follow, no falling off track. It's amazing. So I think the other thing is, I would definitely say, on the topic of good and bad foods, one of the strategies that I incorporate in the Nourish system is that I am a 100% firm believer in incorporating a sweet treat or something like that every single day. Because what I think that this actually does is, like I said before, when we remove these things from our diet and tell ourselves that we're not supposed to have it, it makes us want them even more, which is why this whole strategy of, staying off sugar or trying to keep the junk out of the house never works, because let's be honest, the moment that it comes back in, you're ravenous over it, and all you want to do is head to the cupboard and dig into it. So I think the best strategy possible is to eat it every single day, because what that does is it gives you the permission to enjoy it, so that you're not going to overindulge and you're not going to keep going back for more, because you're like, I'm allowed to have this. This isn't bad food. This isn't going to throw me off track. This is good. Because I think that that's the thing, is what happens. The reason why these types of foods cause us to fall off track is when we tell ourselves that we can't have them, then we overindulge. And what should be one serving of ice cream turns into a massive bowl full, and you heading back and digging into the tub for more. That's definitely going to cause you to fall off track. Is ice cream a bad food? No. But when you eat it like that, yeah, it fucking is. For sure it is. However, if you eat it every single day in the right size portion, you're allowing yourself to have this thing, which gives you the balance. You're staying on track, which is amazing. And that whole good and bad food idea just completely goes out of your head, which is also great, because that's the example that we want to set for our kids. Am I right? We don't want them to go down this whole rabbit hole of what's good and bad and can I eat carbs. Like, I don't know if you guys saw, but a couple weeks ago, I had a message from a 12-year-old girl, an email from a 12-year-old girl asking me for help with weight loss. And I gotta tell you, there's enough crap out there that's gonna tell them what they should and shouldn't be eating, and what's good and bad, and how to look good in a bikini and all that other stuff. You wanna be able to give them the right foundation at home. Which brings me to my next point: picky eaters and husbands that aren't, or partners that aren't on board with healthy eating. Because let me tell you, this is a huge one. And what I would say about this is, the number one strategy that I've incorporated that I find really works is, mama, you gotta let it go. You just literally have to let it go. There are weeks where Madison loves carrots. There are other weeks where she throws them on the ground and literally says garbage. There are weeks where she loves Brussels sprouts. There are other weeks where she hates them. This is going to be a touch and go situation for a long time because that's the thing. As kids, especially for younger ones, they're developing their palates right now. And so there is going to be days where they just don't like something because their palates are changing, and then there are other going to be other days where they love something. And I think it's really important. One of the things that works really well for us is to incorporate her into the decision making about what we're having for dinner. I also, we're really big on getting her into the kitchen and helping us make it so that she sort of takes ownership over the meal. And I mean, she's 2.5. So, like, this can literally happen. I mean, Sienna's a little bit younger. She's 1, but like, this could literally happen at any age. And I think by having them in the kitchen and saying, usually what we typically do for her is we'll give her 2 options. We'll be like, do you want carrots or broccoli? Do you want chicken or beef? Do you want, and then from there, we make the dinner. And if she doesn't eat it, guys, I don't stress about it because, quite frankly, I know for a fact that she's not going to starve herself to death. That child eats really, really well. So if she doesn't eat it, I'm okay with it. I think the other important thing that we forget too is that you really, really want to respect the natural fullness cues of our kids. Because if there's one thing I can tell you growing up in a house where I had to finish my plate, that didn't happen. And so now I actually, well, now I'm a lot better, but it took me a long time, before I got to a place where I was like, okay, this is where I actually feel full. Because I used to stuff myself because growing up, I literally had to finish my plate. And so my little belly was just full of food and I wasn't able to honor those hunger and fullness cues. So I really think that if your kids are saying to yourself, I'm full or I don't want it, I think it's cool. And I think you just need to let it go. And as long as you continue the process of trying to reintroduce over and over and over again, some days they're going to eat it, other days they're not. But the more you stress about it, the more dinner becomes a stressful situation. And then nobody's having fun and nobody wants to eat anything. So I really, really think that it's important that you just keep it up. The other thing that I would say is too, is that you got to walk the talk. So if you really want your kids to start eating vegetables, you got to be the one to do it. Meaning that right now, if you're the one that struggles with eating broccoli and carrots, don't expect your kids to do it because they live and breathe by examples. You can tell them until you're blue in the face, but if you're not doing it, they see that. I mean, it happens all the time with us for a number of different things. But Maddie's the first one to call us on our crap. And so I think that that's the other thing is it's really important to have them see mommy and daddy eat it every single day. So even if your husband isn't on board, just say to him, put 2 or 3 pieces of broccoli on your plate and do us a solid. Like, I think that it just is literally that easy. It's one of the conversations that I had to have with Marcus prior to us having kids because he ate horribly. And I think over time, he realized, how important it was for them to be able to see that. And now the guy eats copious amounts of vegetables every single day and is 100% on board. So I think just like kids, the more that you keep it up, the more that they're going to come on board. But until then, you just kind of got to keep introducing it and don't sort of stress the issue because then that just makes it an entirely unenjoyable experience for everybody. Anyways, guys, that's the deeper dive in terms of the diet stuff that I find has come up so much in with my discussions with women about everything that's going on right now with diets and everything. So just to recap, what I would say is stop demonizing food. There are no good and bad foods. In fact, I'm a firm believer in introducing or having something delicious, something lovely like chocolate or wine or something like that every single day so that you don't crave it as much as you do, because then it sort of releases that power that it has over you. The other thing that I would say is focus on 3 meals a day. That's it. 3 meals a day, proteins, carbs, fats, fiber at every single meal, and you are golden. That's all you need to do. And then that way you don't have to rely on meal plans or recipes or anything like that, which literally stresses you out because A, that's about staying on track, and B, it's just time consuming to follow, and who has time for that? And then I think lastly, in terms of the kids, just keep at it. It is hard. Their palates are developing. I mean, but you got to admit too that if you were growing up and somebody put a plate of something that, if you're not part of the process, imagine you didn't get to make dinner and all of a sudden somebody threw something in front of you and you were like, well, that's weird. I was really craving Chinese, and now all of a sudden this pizza's in front of me. Like, you're not going to be appetized either. So I think the more that you can kind of show them compassion, even though it's frustrating, then the more that you'll sort of take the stress off yourself and the easier that this will be. Because let's be honest, they're not going to starve themselves. And the best thing that you can do is to just keep incorporating it. And if they don't eat it, they don't eat it. But that's the other thing too. In our house, Maddie knows if she doesn't eat dinner, she doesn't get another meal. There's no next meal coming because there's no next chef in the kitchen that's going to be making it. This is what's here, and I can guarantee you, if she's hungry enough, she's going to eat it. Anyways, guys, I hope that was helpful. As always, if you have any other questions, please feel free to drop them below this video. Like it if you found it helpful, and I'll be diving into this a little bit more on Friday. So if you have any other questions or any other things that you want me to talk about, just drop them below and I'll include them in the training. Okay, see you then. Bye.